Hi friends, welcome back. Today is the most important thing we'll learn all year. It's a method of problem solving that we will use the entire year, that you will use next year and in college and forever. That will help you solve problems not only in this class, but also physics, math, any class that you run into that you have to do conversions. You'll see that you can use this method to solve them. So it's really, really useful. And I would suggest that you write every single word that you see down on this piece of paper, which is more like a screen. So this method of solving problems has two names, either dimensional analysis or the factor label method. Either one of them works fine. I'll probably call it dimensional analysis. And what it is a way to keep track of different units in a problem and to cancel out the ones that you don't want and to keep the ones that you do want. And so it's very useful for those long math problems that are like, convert from this to this, like how many heartbeats have you had in your life? Or, how many centimeters are in 5,000 miles? Those kind of conversion problems you can solve very easily using this method. So the one we're going to look at as an intro would be how many feet are in 11 yards. Now, if you were thinking about this problem, you probably already know the answer or at least how to solve it, and maybe you're even pulling out your calculator to do that right now. And that's fine, of course. You already have this kind of in your head. But what we use to solve these problems are what we call conversion factors. And conversion factors are two numbers that are equal that are arranged in a fraction. And the one that you're thinking of, if we're thinking about how many feet are in 11 yards, the conversion factor you're probably thinking of is that there are 3 feet in 1 yard. It's a pretty simple conversion factor. It's one that you have known for a very long time, especially if you play tackle football. Anyway, you can, to write this conversion factor, the way that we would use it in classes is that you arrange them in a fraction. So you can either say, they mean the same thing. You can either say 1 yard equals, don't read that, 3 feet, or you could say that 3 feet equals 1 yard. They mean the same thing, and instead of viewing it as a fraction, like 3 over 1 or 1 over 3, think of it as two numbers that are equal. 1 yard equals 3 feet, or 3 feet equals 1 yard, depending on how you say it. And these conversion factors are the key to solving these kinds of problems. To do that, you arrange them to cancel out things that you don't want, and then to keep the things that you do want. So I have the steps here. You can see they're already written, but I'm going to solve the problem in this little space below number 1. But you should be writing out the steps as you solve the problem as well. So the first thing you want to do is write out what we're given in this problem, which is right here. We said how many feet are in 11 yards. You're always going to have some sort of number that you're given. In this case, we're given the number 11 yards. Okay, and we'll start there. Now what you want to do is take the conversion factor that we know. That would be that there are 3 feet in 1 yard. 3 feet equals 1 yard. And arrange it in a way that will cancel out yards and give you feet. So you're going to arrange it as a fraction like we have here. You can have either one of these choices, either 1 yard over 3 feet or 3 feet over 1 yard. And since we have 1 yard in front of our problem here, 11 yards, we're going to say multiply this by 3 feet over 1 yard. Okay? And what we've done is that we've canceled out the unit yards. So you can see here that yards cancels with the yards here. You can imagine that this is like, mentally keep this over 1, but you're not cross multiplying and dividing. You're just saying that I have yards on bottom, I have yards on top, and they're going to cancel out. And so what I'm left with that didn't cancel out is the unit feet. Okay, so I've arranged them to get rid of the starting units, and I've converted to the desired unit. So what that means is that put the one that you want to get rid of on the bottom so they cancel. You can see here I've got this yards on top, this yards on bottom. They're going to cancel out. And then the math is very straightforward. It's just 11 times 3. I mean, obviously you're dividing by 1, but you don't need to write that. So 11 times 3 we know is 33 feet. Okay, so this way to solve problems is super, super useful for this class and for other classes beyond. Let's take a look at another example. I've got convert 25 centimeters to inches. Okay, first step. Oh, by the way, you might not know all the conversion factors. That's fine. That's why I wrote this one here. You can see that it's got 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters. that's cool. The nice part about this is that you're usually given the conversion factors or the ones that you already know. So for example, you might say, oh yeah, well, you knew that 3 feet equals 1 yard because it's a pretty common one. Maybe you know that there are 12 inches in 1 foot. Again, that's a pretty common one. But not everyone knows that their 1 inch is equal to 2.54 centimeters. So sometimes they have to be told to, and that's totally fine too. If you didn't know, you could do things like, ask Siri or ask Google, and they would tell you. As a matter of fact, you probably could just even say, say this problem, and Google will tell you the answer as well. Okay, so that's a nice way to check your work if you're working from home. Anyway, write what you're given first, 25 centimeters, and I want to convert that to inches. So again, imagine that 25 is over 1, and we're going to have some sort of conversion factor here. You can even kind of fill in before you write the numbers in. So for example, if I have, for number 2, choose my conversion factor, I want to get rid of centimeters, so I know centimeters has to be down there, so it cancels with this centimeters right here, okay? So 1 on top, and then this one is on bottom. And then I know that I want my answer in inches, so I'm going to write inches up here because you don't want that to cancel. And then we know from the conversion factor right here that 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters, so you can write the numbers in now. 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters. Okay, arrange them to get rid of the starting units and convert to desired units. Look, I've got centimeters on top, I've got centimeters on bottom. They cancel out. The number doesn't cancel out. That number is still here, that 2.54. That's still there. All that we've done is get rid of the units, okay? That's what dimensional analysis does, is get rid of the units you don't want and keeps the units you want. In this case, that unit is inches. And then you just say 25 divided by 2.54 equals 9.84 inches. Okay, the nice part about dimensional analysis is that you can always check to see if you set it up right. So centimeters canceled centimeters. I have inches on top. My answer's in inches here. The question says how many inches, so I know that I've set it up right. And as long as I didn't plug it into my calculator with my disgusting sausage fingers incorrectly, I'm going to have the right answer. So that is how you do them. That's how you set them up. Okay. Last one. The nice part about this is that they can have more than one step. Is that nice? It's nice for when the problems are more complicated, but no one likes to see problems that are more than one step. But you can do it. You can stack the steps as well. You can have 5, 6, 7 steps. In chemistry class, you probably never have more than 3 or 4 steps for this. But this is how you would set it up if it was more than one step. So this problem reads, number 3, convert 2,586 milliliters to gallons. So one thing that maybe you're given this conversion factor that 3.79 liters equals 1 gallon. You also should know, that's why I made a star there. Can I double star it? Oh, check this out. Bam, that's a terrible star, but you should know that there are 1,000 milliliters in 1 liter, 1,000 mil anything in 1 anything. So that's a conversion factor that you should know. I'm not going to ask you to memorize too many, but that would be one that you are going to use all year long, so maybe get used to it. So the steps are, write what you're given first, which is 2,586 milliliters to gallons. And milliliters, I don't need to use the gallons yet. And if I knew a milliliters to gallons conversion, I could do it in one step. And is there one? Sure, there's one, but it's not a really common one. So instead, I'm going to break this into chunks that I do know. I do know that there's 1,000 milliliters in 1 liter, and I also know that there are 3.9 liters in 1 gallon. So you can do this in a way that will just do one step at a time. So let's do that. First, the conversion factor that I know is that I want to get rid of milliliters, so I'm going to write milliliters down there. And the only conversion factor I know from milliliters is there are 1,000 of them in 1 liter. So I'm going to write 1 liter here and write 1,000 milliliters there. I've just canceled out milliliters. And right now I'm left with liters, but I don't want my answer in liters, I want my answer in gallons. So I'd keep going. So you can stack another conversion factor on there. And then in this one, it would be the one that we're given, is that there are 3.79 liters in 1 gallon. I want to get rid of liters, so it's got to go down there, right? Because I have the liters on top here, so I have to have them on bottom. The next one, I want my answer in gallons, so I know that 1 gallon will go on top. The number's not always 1 on top, but in this example, it happens to be. And then, but the label should be the one that you want. Okay, your last one is the one that I want, which is gallons. And then I know that there are 3.79 liters in 1 gallon. Okay, now go back and check. So look, liters cancels liters. Milliliters cancels milliliters. The only one that's left is gallons. So you set it up correctly because you want your answer in gallons. So now you just need to do the math. And this math, you can multiply everything on top and then divide by everything on bottom. It still totally works. You can have or you can do it one at a time too. You can do 2,586 divided by 1,000, hit enter, divided by 3.79, hit enter, that's fine. Or you can do 2,586 divided by 1,000, divided by 3.79. You can have two divided bys in the same problem. Your calculator won't burst into flames. It will be okay. So anyway, if you do the math correctly, you'll end up with 0.68 gallons for your answer. So this is a simple tool. Oh, every answer should have a label too. And this is just a simple tool that will help you convert from whatever you're starting into whatever you want. And you can use this for all sorts of problems. And we're going to today just practice with English to metric, but in this class we'll very often be practicing with grams and moles and molecules, which we're going to learn tomorrow. Okay, this has been a good talk. You have to see all my notifications. Got to remember to turn them off next time.